Hello, 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 everyone. It is time for the final episode breakdown. It is the season finale of season 1 of The Witcher Netflix, episode 8. Much more. Whew, so I can't believe I made it through all 8 episode breakdowns. This has been a lot of fun to record these videos and just talk about The Witcher. Obviously, The Witcher is something I really love and I'm really passionate about, and I just can't get enough of talking about it, really. So making these videos has been a great joy for me, so I appreciate all of you who have been watching these episode breakdowns. You guys are awesome. So even though this is the final episode breakdown, this definitely is not going to be the last Witcher video that I upload. I do have some ideas for future episodes that I want to record. For example, some predictions and theories of what might happen in season 2, and even with some of the stuff that's recently been revealed about season 2, I really want to talk about that. So stay tuned for more videos. Also, please note that this video will contain a lot of spoilers, and not just spoilers to the show, obviously, but I do talk about some themes and different plot points in the books, and some of that stuff has not yet been revealed in the show. So if you are sensitive to those kinds of spoilers, please keep that in mind when watching this episode, that I do talk about some things in the books that may be revealed later in the show. So with all that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and dive right into it. Let's check out the final episode of Season 1, Episode 8, Much More. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about all of Yennefer's story in this episode first. So basically the whole story following the mages and the Battle of Sodden Hill, which does take up most of this episode anyway. So I'm going to talk about that first, and then we'll discuss the Geralt and Ciri story later. So first off, from a viewer perspective, it's really cool to have a very epic season finale. So the Battle of Sodden Hill is like the perfect way to have a really crazy epic battle season finale for this show. But from a reader's perspective, it's even more interesting because the Battle of Sodden Hill is not something that's ever fully narrated in the books. It's discussed many times by different people, and it's brought up many times in the book, but we never get a full narration of how the whole battle played out. So watching it from my perspective as somebody who has read the books, I thought it was really interesting to see how the show was gonna fill in the gaps and really make this battle come to life. Overall, I did like it. I do have a few gripes with some of the things that occurred during this episode, but as far as just making it a very dramatic and epic battle, I think they did well. So the story obviously begins with the overall preparations for the battle. We get to see some more dialogue between Tissaia and Yennefer and Triss, Sabrina, Vilgefortz. So it's really cool to see all of these sorceresses and sorcerers.
Is Vilgefortz to be our new daddy?
Vilgefortz be our new daddy. Oh my gosh. Did Triss really say that? Oh, please don't ever call Vilgefortz your daddy. So there's an interesting bit of dialogue that comes up a little bit later here when Yennefer is talking with Tissaia. Tissaia basically asks Yennefer if she's ready to die. And Yennefer says that she's lived 1 or 2 lifetimes already. What she was saying, I feel like it was a little over dramatic for Yen. So these last 2 episodes show a side of Yennefer's character that I never really identified with Yennefer in other media, like Yennefer in the books, really. I'm not necessarily saying this is a bad thing, it's just different. Overall, the show did a good job building up Yennefer's character and having her grow as a person, as a woman, as a sorceress, but it's not how I always envisioned Yennefer to be. And it's just, yeah, like I said, it's just different. I'm not saying that it's horrible. And I really am with Tissaia on this, where she says, you still have so much to give. Yennefer never would give up so easily like this or act so dramatic about this situation. And then the battle begins, and we see Nilfgaard using this really evil forbidden magic. Like I've said before, this really adds a more villainous side to Nilfgaard. They really are doing everything they can to make Nilfgaard look like the bad guys in this show, really, like the main villain. Nilfgaard is definitely an opposing force in the books, but I think there are other villains and other evils in the world to consider, and it's not all about Nilfgaard being the big bad. And later on, we see Vilgefortz fights Cahir. And I've seen a lot of people complain about this particular fight online. There's a lot of speculation on what is going on with Vilgefortz right now as a character. So Vilgefortz is one of the most powerful mages in the books. He even defeats Geralt at one point, so he's pretty powerful. So the question is, if he's so powerful, how does he lose to Cahir? So there's a lot of questions. Is he maybe not showing his true power because Yennefer is watching? Maybe he's holding back. So all of us who know the story of Vilgefortz and know who his character is, we all are going into this with our preconceived notions of who he is. But the truth is, we don't really know what the show is going to do with Vilgefortz's character. So we have all these ideas in our mind of how Vilgefortz should be fighting here, but honestly, we don't know, and I'm very interested to see where the show is going to go with Vilgefortz's character. It's a little implied because later on we do see Vilgefortz killing somebody that he shouldn't be killing, but so far we've also seen the show change some characters quite a bit, so it could go either way, really. And then we see Tissaia trying to reason with Fringilla, and honestly, I really love this scene because it's Tissaia who still has hope in her student Fringilla. Despite everything Fringilla has done, Tissaia still tries to give her a chance and reason with her. But Fringilla has none of that and is fully drinking the White Flame Kool-Aid. She literally tells Tissaia that she's the one who burned down all of the Skelligan ships that were supposed to aid Sintra. And then she goes ahead and blasts Tissaia with some Dimeridium, which immobilizes her magical abilities. She can't do anything now. Fun fact, in the books, Fringilla does actually blind Yennefer during the Battle of Sodden Hill. But in this, we see it's Fringilla who is attacking Tissaia instead. All right, so moving on to some other parts of the Sodden Hill battle. So first of all, poor Sabrina dies. Or actually, I don't know if she dies, but later in the scene, she falls to what looks like her death, though she still is speaking to Yennefer. I kind of hope Sabrina isn't dead, because she has some significance later on, but we'll see. Second of all, Triss nearly dies. I think it's said that 14 of the 22 mages who were at the Battle of Sodden Hill died, and for a while everybody thought it was one of the 14 mages who died was Triss Merigold, but Triss Merigold actually did live. There is one thing that Triss says in the books, that she's never able to wear a low-cut shirt ever again after the Battle of Sodden Hill, and I think it's because she does get burned so badly in her chest, or something so badly happens during the battle, and they showed a little bit of that there in this battle, and she's nearly dead here. So they did also show Coral, another named mage who did die. But I gotta say that I'm a little upset that they didn't include my favorite sorceress, Philippa Eilhart, at the Battle of Sodden Hill. So Philippa is in fact part of this battle, and she is one of the mages who lives after the Battle of Sodden Hill. Philippa takes a much more significant role later on in the books, and when I was reading the books, Philippa was just one of my favorite characters. Part of me wanted Philippa to make an appearance in one of these last episodes, and they did introduce a big character like Vilgefortz very late in the show. He was only just introduced in episode 7, so they could have done the same with Philippa and introduced her very, very late. And I feel like having her at the Battle of Sodden Hill would have made her a lot more of a significant character in the show. To have that credit, to have that credibility of being one of the sorceresses who battled at Sodden Hill, I really would have loved to have seen Philippa there. Philippa is a very, very powerful sorceress, and she's also considered Tissaia's favorite student. Not Yennefer, actually. It's Philippa who is the favorite of Tissaia. So I just had to have a little rant there about my personal favorite sorceress, Philippa. And I really do hope we see her in season 2, but I wish she was at this battle. And the last scene that I want to talk about for the Battle of Sodden Hill part of this episode is this final scene with Tissaia and Yennefer just unleashing her power, her chaos. It's a pretty epic scene, honestly. I really did enjoy it. I loved the flashbacks that Yennefer was having of all the people who doubted her power and her just unleashing it on Nilfgaard. Like I've said several times already, I think one of the best things that this show did was Yennefer's character arc of her growth and everything, and this demonstrates like the pinnacle of that growth. Though this Yennefer may not be fully true to the Yennefer that we see in the books, I think the way they've grown her character in this show was really good overall. So I gotta give it to this epic final scene and ending the battle. Alright, so now I want to talk about Geralt and Ciri's part of this episode, which this story kind of follows the short story Something More, which is the final short story of the second book. It's a very emotional one, by the way. Now, when I first saw the title of this episode, Much More, I really thought that it was going to be an episode that mostly followed the short story Something More, but I feel like this was more of the more minor part of this episode, while the big thing was the Battle of Sodden Hill. So this entire season for Geralt has been very much following adventure after adventure, but this final episode I think is a bit more reflective of Geralt as a character and really gets deep down to the things that are rattling his brain and the things that he's going through as a person, and not so much as a monster hunter. We see some hallucinations, some flashbacks, and we also see some scenes of him interacting with his mother. I really love this little glimpse that we get of Geralt's childhood and what happened to him and how he became a witcher, and that his mother is a sorceress. But once again, Geralt is being reminded of his destiny. So despite all of the reflecting that he's doing, he's being told he needs to find his destiny, Ciri. So in Sword of Destiny, Geralt and Ciri had already met and bonded a bit in Brokilon, which is not something we got in this show, but then they inevitably get separated again, and all hope seems lost, like Geralt lost Ciri again. And I feel like it's very similar here, where Geralt feels like all hope is lost, that he wasn't able to get Ciri, but he's constantly reminded of his destiny, and sure enough, destiny brings him back to Ciri in the end. We have here Geralt traveling with this man whom he saved his life, and unbeknownst to Geralt or the man, they're traveling back to his home where his wife had just taken Ciri off of the streets because she was wandering alone. So his wife picks up Ciri and the husband picks up Geralt, and they're both traveling in a way to finally meet each other and reunite again. And because Geralt saved this man's life, what does he do? He offers up the Law of Surprise. Geralt, who has heard the Law of Surprise so many times, is so sick of hearing about it, yet it comes up once again in his life. And this is where the puzzle pieces really start coming together, where Geralt realizes the girl in the woods, she's still here, she's still alive. Ciri has her visions about Geralt and Yennefer, and the two of them realize that they are still destined together. So I think this moment when Geralt and Ciri are both in the woods looking for each other, I really did like this moment. I think both of the actors did really well in expressing this moment on their faces where they realize that they need something here and they need to get it. And it's just, I don't know, it's just a very emotional moment. And it does capture some of the emotions that you do have in Something More. And seeing the two of them run together and finally meet, it's been this build-up through all of these episodes. You know Geralt and Ciri need to be together. And it takes all the way to the very end of episode 8 for them to finally meet up. It's the moment we've all been waiting for throughout this entire show, and it happens finally at the end. They embrace, and it's a very heartwarming moment, and it made me very happy. Though the final line by Ciri, "Who's Yennefer?" I think kind of kills the moment a little bit for me. I just feel like it didn't really fit well with the moment, but I understand that the showrunners kind of wanted to leave it on a bit of a cliffhanger here, but to me, that was the one thing that didn't really settle well with me, of her saying, "Who's Yennefer?" All of that, but the music, the filming, everything leading up to the moment, I think was really good, but just a little anticlimactic at the end there. So the dialogue that Geralt and Ciri have upon meeting is a little different from the dialogue that occurs in the book in Sword of Destiny. It's a very impactful one, and so I'm just going to read it really quick before we end this video. It's like they said, Geralt, it's like they said. Am I your destiny? Say it. Am I your destiny? Yaruga saw the Witcher's eyes and was very astonished. He heard his wife's soft weeping, felt the trembling of her shoulders. He looked at the Witcher and waited, tensed for his answer. He knew he would not understand it, but he waited for it, and heard it. You're more than that, Ciri. Much more. Trying not to cry. So that's really everything for this episode, for the season finale. Wow. I gotta say, I am very, very excited for season 2. I'm excited to what they're gonna have in it, and oh man, it's gonna be really, really great. So overall, I've said this many times, I very, very much enjoyed this show. Obviously, I have my few gripes and my few criticisms here and there, but if I had to look at the show as a whole, I really very much enjoyed it. So thanks again, everybody, for watching this episode. Thanks for watching the whole series if you did. And as always, let me know your thoughts below. I love hearing everybody's thoughts about the show. I loved having those kind of discussions. It never gets old to me. So let me know your thoughts below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.